We're back with George Benson, and we're talking about the early years. And we left off talking about playing underage in bars. Okay, now I started playing bars when I was about 14, and there was more than one time where I had to call my dad to come pick me up after the gig. I didn't trust the guys to drive me home, if you know what I mean. You know, but one thing I found is lots of times people weren't that helpful. I remember getting up on stage and people would start a tune, they wouldn't tell me what key we're in, they wouldn't tell me what tune we're doing, they wouldn't count it off, and they just expected me to sink or swim. Did you have experiences like that too, or was it mostly pretty supportive?
Well, the good thing in my career was by the time I was 15 and I started playing as a guitar player, they started calling me to play in nightclubs. Everybody knew who I was. And I would end up going to other clubs and stand in the doorway to hear the music because I knew I wasn't allowed in. But the club owners liked me, so they would go, "Little Georgie, come over here. Sit in this seat right here in the corner and don't move a muscle.
Right.
You'll be all right. Anything you want to drink, Coca-Cola or something like that." So I would get a chance to hear and see the superstars of our time, you know, the organ trios.
Sure.
Johnny Hammersmith, Jimmy Smith, Wild Bill Davis, and people like that, and Jack McDuff, who came through. Then later, Jimmy McGriff and people like that, and Groove Holmes and people like that. So it was quite an ear-opening experience.
Oh, I'm sure. And to be exposed like that at such an early age, I mean, it's in your blood at that point.
That's right.
You know, that's great. Well, you know, whether you're self-taught or people have shown you things or you've had formal training, one thing that everybody experiences are times when your creativity sort of dries up or you get into a rut. If that happens to you, how do you work your way out of it?
It is a very common question I hear from a lot of people, and it has happened to me many times. And what I did, I've discovered that if I practiced 10 things, I would remember one or two of them. So the secret was practice 100 things, and I got 10 or 20 things I would do, you know, get out of that session. So I would practice a lot of different things, and I noticed that when I play with others, that someone would play something during that to remind me of the things that I couldn't remember. And they might start a thing, you know, with a 6 or 13. I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Oh, and then somebody would go, I said, "Oh." That kind of thing. And they start with, and then I said, "Oh, okay, that's a key." But the key for me was to just gather a lot of things and stay familiar with the instrument. I don't really call it practicing. I call it becoming familiar with the instrument. So if you hear something, you know where to get it. I wasn't gifted with perfect pitch like a lot of my friends are, which can be a great blessing, but it can also be a curse.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yes, sir. So I had to strive for things which were very easy for them. But what I learned along the way were passing things, usable things that I could use to spice up the music. You know, in harmony, I found that if you study harmony, you learn a lot of notes at one time. Instead of learning, you know, one note at a time. Well, that's not an A13 chord. Oh, okay. So, how many notes are in that 13 chord? Well, there's 5 right there. I said, oh, but I also noticed that that's a passing thing for this D chord. Now I'm talking very strange and simple language to you because this is the way I think of guitar. I always condense things down to the simplest form. That way I don't have to remember too many things. So I noticed that is part of the cycle of in the key of D. If that's the case, that means that when I'm playing my chord progression, I'm trying to get back to, you know, to the 2/5 progression, the A minor, D7, back to G, but I'm playing. This is also D. See? Half step back, same thing. Now I'm back to the root, but I haven't gone that route that really allows people to hear it before you get there. So you keep the surprise thing happening, you know?
Sure.
So this they would be able to hear because they've heard 1,000 people do this. They know that. That's in their head. They don't know where they heard it, but they've heard it.
Sure, sure.
So we surprised them with so they haven't heard that before. So they said, wait a minute, where's he coming from? I don't know how he got there, but he got there. Hurrah! Show me some more.
Well, that's beautiful, beautiful stuff. If I can clarify one thing with you, when you first started talking about this, you said somebody would say, oh, start on the 13th or start on this note or that note. Are we talking about learning to start on different degrees of a chord?
Relating those chords to something that is being played. Like, say, for instance, if they're playing, like we started off in the key of G. But if they play this, we say, wait a minute now, where is that coming from? We know you and I know it's a flat 5. But that's interesting because now we got to make it make sense.
Yes.
You and I.
Make it musical.
We'll make it, take it someplace that's logical. And we have to, no matter where you start a story, there's got to be an ending, the place of agreement with the person you're talking to. So I'm always trying to get to a place that's a common denominator, something that we all can agree on. That's back to the root or wherever it is we're going. We want to take them there with us, but in an interesting way.
Yes.
So that's what we try to do. I'm looking for ways of getting to a place that's slightly different than we went the last time.
Right.
You know, so it makes variety in our music, and variety is the spice.
Well, you tell a different story every time.
Yeah,
right?
Hopefully.
Well, this is great stuff, but we're really just getting started, and we'll be back with more lessons coming up.
Stick in there with us, y'all.